Hey guys, Mark Lyon here, Lion Horses. Today I got a topic for our Friday philosophy, and that is the law of diminishing returns. And so it's easy to get discouraged, when you're going along in your horsemanship or whatever you're trying to get better at. And that is because of the law of diminishing returns. So I'll kind of use a couple little analogies. If you're a zero, you're just starting a new venture. You're trying to get good at something. Let's take a piano. You're trying to get good at piano. And so if you practice, let's say 10 minutes a day, in a week, that's just under an hour or just over an hour, like you're 70 minutes. So you're just a little bit over an hour of practice. And in 10 minutes a day, over the week, you're probably going to go from a 0 to a 1. So in 1 hour, a little over an hour, you're going to go from 0 to 1. And then the next week, you're going to go from, 1 to, 1.5. And you take it, in the deal you're talking, you do a month. You do a month of piano. You're going to get from 0 to 2 or 3 in the skill level. And that's not very much time. I mean, that's, 3-4 hours. You're going to go from not knowing how to play piano at all to being on the scale between 0 and 10. You're going to get to 3. I mean, that's pretty cool. And then it's going to start tapering off a little bit, right? Because at the other end of the spectrum, let's say that you're pretty good. Let's say that you're playing, the thing is let's say you practice, let's say you're at a 7. So you're pretty good. Or maybe let's say at a 5. You got to a 5. And it's going to take you a little while because it only took you 5 hours to get to a 3. But now it's going to take you to get from a 3 to a 5. That's going to take you 6 months of practice, and probably more than 10 minutes a day. Like, you're going to have to bump it up now to maybe a half hour a day, and you're going to have to practice quite a bit to get to that 5. And then it's going to go to get from 5 to 6. It's going to take you probably a year or a little bit more practicing, right? And then to get from 6 to 7, it's going to take you 3 years. And then from 7 to 8, it's going to take you longer than that with harder practice, right? You're going to have to put more time into it and more hours into it. And so to get to where you could, if you want to play for like the New York Symphony, like a really, really good, and let's say you're good enough to play, for a lower level, like mid, smaller town orchestra. Well, playing for that orchestra and playing at the New York Symphony, that's going to take a lot of time. Like, that's going to take hours and hours and hours of practice to get to that level. And you're like, well, I'm only getting up 1 notch on the scale from 0 to 10. 7 to 8 took me, 50 times longer with 50 times more work than getting from 0 to 3. Because 0 to 3, it's just 5 or 6 hours of practice, and I got to 3. And the hill starts off like this, and then it just gets steeper and steeper and steeper. And so that's why there's so few people at the top, right? It takes longer. So just remember, don't get discouraged. Figure out, and you don't always have to be at the top. Like, maybe you think, well, I'd like to play the piano, and I just want to be able to play. I just be able to want to sit down at the piano and play a little bit once in a while and entertain some guests at my house or whatever. Hey, remember, that's not going to take you years and years and years of work. But if your goal is to play for an orchestra, or your goal is to play at a very high level, Oh, it's going to take some work. And the same thing with your horses. It's going to be way easy, to get that basic stuff done. Like we teach, you can learn how to do the basic stuff with horses very quickly. And then when you start working on lead changes and stops and spins and stuff like that, remember, it's going to take you some time. And it can be fun to practice. That practice can be fun. But it's going to take some work. So just remember that don't be discouraged. Just keep plugging along there. Just keep working at it and enjoy yourself while you're doing it. And then just set realistic expectations. If you've got a family and you're a wife and mother or husband and father and you've got other stuff to do, being on the Olympic team might not be where you are wanting to be. There may be things that are more important, but that doesn't mean you can't be good at what you're doing now and work on getting better a little bit each day. But just be aware of that, the law of diminishing returns. Don't be discouraged when you're the first 10 hours don't get you as far along as the second 10 hours. The second 10 hours, you're not going to quite get so much. And we do the same thing with horses. When I am starting a colt, by the end of the first month, he can walk, trot, lope, stop, back up, turn around, side pass, open and close a gate, crack a whip. I mean, that's in 1 month. He's really good. Like, you can go out and he's really pretty good. You can use him for a job. And then you take him to a trainer, and the dressage trainer or the reining trainer, a year later, they'll say, you'll come see the horse. And I've been there as well. You'll say, well, I've got a year of training into him. What did you accomplish in the last month? Well, they got a little bit better at this little thing. And it's like, look, you've been working for him a month and he just got this much better. I mean, when we started him, he went from knowing nothing to walk, trot, lope, stop, back up, turn around, all these things. He made this much progress in the first month, and then every month after that, the progress gets smaller, right? You can see pretty good progress the second month and a little bit less progress the third month. And by the time you get to the 7th or 8th or 9th or 10th month, it's like, oh, we're really just working on little tiny details. So that's the law of diminishing returns. So remember, this applies to you and your horses. Don't expect them to get so good every month. The first month you start working with him, especially when you're starting a colt, he's going to get to, you're going to make the most amount of progress that first month or two. And then that progress is going to start tapering off a little bit. And we don't be discouraged. Don't say, this horse is dumb. Just remember, with all of us, we need to remember that the next step is going to be harder to get than the previous step. So you need to have some patience. Anyway, remember, we're all trying to be the person a horse deserves. Hope this helps.